Tony Khan is going to be his own demise. If AEW goes down, it is because of that man. I have a question for you guys. Just a real simple question. What happens when you take 2 steps forward? When you see something that may be potentially good, and you're like, you know what? They might be onto something. They just might be onto something. And then within a split of a second, they take not just 4 steps back, they take like 14 steps back. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wrestle Talk with the Franchise. And this episode, as you know, if you've been following me on the Instagram page, I've been alluding to this episode. I've been talking very highly about how I have a lot to talk about this week. And the biggest thing that I'm going to talk about is this guy right here. That guy, right? Tony Khan. And I know a lot of y'all are going to say, or y'all are going to be like, oh man, like it's another rant. It's another anti-AEW. But I want to, hopefully with this episode, explain my issues with the company. More so with Tony Khan. But before I dive into that, let's talk about some of the good that's happening in the world of wrestling. Or if you want to say the good. So this past Friday was the start of the WWE Draft. And a lot of people, me included, was not that thrilled with this first installment of the draft. Obviously, we know the rest of the draft will be taking place or took place over the course of this weekend and concluding on Monday. So I just have some of the notable picks that I will talk about. So SmackDown has acquired him, Carmelo Hayes, who used formerly on NXT. Braun Breaker, he is going to Raw, even though he just signed a agreement with SmackDown, but he's going to Raw. Nia Jax is going to SmackDown, which it's a very interesting call. It's a very interesting call because of what I had in mind for her after the Battle Royal, which we crowned a new women's world champion. I'll get into that a little bit later. The tag team of Elba Fire and Elsa Dawn, they are on Raw now. And Baron Corbin, that's right, Baron Corbin, who I thought might have been on the chopping block, is actually going to SmackDown. Kind of curious to see how this is going to go. But if I'm a betting person, I'm going to bet the house Baron Corbin at one point in time is going to challenge Cody Rhodes for the undisputed title. One of the things that they did allude to was all the champs were going to stay in their respective brands. So Cody is officially on SmackDown. Bayley stays on SmackDown. A-Town Down Under stays on SmackDown. Logan Paul stays on SmackDown. Raw, Damian Priest stays on Raw. The new Women's World Champion, Becky Lynch, is on Raw. Awesome Truth is on Raw. And Sami Zayn is on Raw. So, my thoughts of these notable picks, Carmelo Hayes, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Carmelo Hayes as a heel is everything that people wanted Montez or believe Montez Ford could be as a heel. Obviously, I don't think that they're going to make that move into them being heels. I remember when Montez and Bianca was on the pivot and they talked about it, and Montez said that, he feels like he's a natural heel, but when they did do the little heel turn, the crowd was still cheering for Street Profits. So I think if we did get a heel switch with Montez, it has to be something that is going to literally shake up the world. But I don't see that. I would love to see a feud with Montez and Carmelo. Could we possibly see Melo in the Pride with them? We did see a little tease of Bobby Lashley talking to Carmelo back when he was we were trying to figure out what Bobby was doing with the Street Profits, and then we seen him on NXT with Melo, talking to Melo. So it was very interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they recircle back to that moment. Braun Breaker going to Raw. That was surprising, and the only reason why I say that is because I feel like you need enough heels to go against Cody. Yes, Randy Orton is going to be on SmackDown, and that is going to potentially be one of the biggest feuds that Cody's going to have during his title run if they do execute that. Obviously, he has AJ Styles right now. I believe Gunther is going to go to SmackDown as well, and that will be another big rival for him. But it's kind of interesting to see. I'm not used to seeing, I'm just not used to seeing not that many heels. Like Braun going to Raw, is he going to be a babyface? Is he going to be a heel? I feel like he's going to be a heel. I feel like Priest is going to turn to a babyface. But I could also see Braun Breaker going for the Intercontinental title before going for the world title. Nia Jax is a surprise for me. And the reason why is because when Becky won the Battle Royal for the Women's World title, I initially was upset because I'm like, I wanted Liv to win. And there have been amongst the wrestling universe, wrestling community, a lot of people were wanting Liv to win. And I was talking to one of my friends, and he had brought up a good point. Would you want Liv Morgan to win the title in a Battle Royal, which is like, okay, it's whatever? Or would you want her to have that one-on-one match against a Becky Lynch and beat Becky Lynch? Now, me and Ace had a slight conversation about this because he did allude to his, his feeling the same way I felt. And I told him this, and he said, well, Liv said that she was on her revenge tour. She was taking everything from from Rhea. So her taking the belt and potentially taking Dom would cause it to be like she's taking everything from her, which is true, but it will feel better if she did it on a one-on-one basis. Okay? Dom is just going to be the icing on the cake. He just is. But I'm very interested to see what they do with Nia Jax. I can see Nia and Bayley having a feud, and I can see Nia winning before the summer. And we are close to the summer. Nia Jax will be WWE Women's Champion by the middle of the summer. I'll say by the middle of the summer, she will win that title. Not really having to care for the tag team. But Monday will conclude with the rest of the draft, so I'm very interested to see what happens with that. Roman Reigns did not get drafted because he elected himself not to be drafted, which is a very interesting pull. It's an interesting move that he made. I feel like maybe Money in the Bank, we will see Roman return, or maybe SummerSlam, but I'm leaning more towards before SummerSlam. And the reason why is because I can see the old bloodline versus the new bloodline. And I've talked about it since Roman Reigns has left and Solo has kind of taken reins over the bloodline. Speaking of the new bloodline, WWE Backlash, first premium live since WrestleMania, is taking place this Saturday, May 4th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because they are in France. And I think this is the card. I think this is the official card. I don't think there's going to be any matches added to it, but so far we have 5 matches, and we're going to start off with the Women's Tag Team Championship on the line with the Kabuki Warriors going up against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. This is not a preview show. I'm going to give you my reaction. I'm going to give you my recap. There's no preview show to this right here. Then we have another tag team match that was announced. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens versus Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. MFT. Trying to figure out what MFT stands for. If anybody knows what MFT stands for, please let me know in the comments. Then we have a triple threat match for the women's title with Bayley defending her title against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. We could have called this from a mile away. Then we have Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso, going up against the World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest. And then obviously we're going to have the main event, which is the Undisputed WWE Championship on the line with Cody Rhodes defending it against the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. Like I said, I will be doing my recap show next week following Backlash. But I will say, this is the test. This is the kicker. This is going to be the first test. Let's see how this weighs out without Roman Reigns. And when I say that, I mean without Roman Reigns as champion, because even with Roman Reigns as champion, you still had that feel. Now with Roman Reigns gone and he's not the champ, it's very interesting to see what will happen. But let's dive into, I don't want to go over 30 to 40 minutes, okay? So I want to take this time now to talk about AEW. They just had their pay-per-view, AEW Dynasty, which they crowned Swerve Strickland as their new AEW World Champion. I am beyond ecstatic and thrilled for Strickland. I was excited for that moment. I said it last week. They did it. He's the first Black AEW champion. And how do they celebrate his victory on Dynamite? He had a match. He didn't have a promo. He didn't have time on the mic. He didn't have a celebration. Nothing. He had a match. He had what do they call it? It's like a contender challenge. I forgot what the name of their number one contender, like not number one contender, but it's their version. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But he had a match. And Willow Nightingale, who won the TBS title, she had a celebration. Chris Jericho, who too many people think is or should retire, had a celebration for winning the FTW title, which is not even a real title in AEW's bubble. And then you had the main event with Jon Moxley defending the IWGP heavyweight title. New Japan's heavyweight title. Jon Moxley main evented with a title that's not even in the company. You had someone have a celebration for a title that is not even in the bubble or is not even consideration in AEW. And then you have a title defense for a title, another title that's not even in your company. But the heavyweight champion, your first Black heavyweight champion, had no promo time. He's supposed to talk on Collision. I'm recording this, surprisingly enough, it's not Sunday. I'm recording it Saturday at 8:08. And right about now, Swerve should be having his first interview. He's having an interview. He's not having a promo. He's having an interview. I said it when they made that decision. I said it when the conclusion of Dynamite happened. I have this gut feeling, and I hope I am wrong. Swerve is going to be a transitional champion. And the more I think about the potential storyline that is going to go with AEW and this elite storyline that closed Dynamite, the more I think Strickland is a transitional champion. Hear me out. Swerve is your world champion. Where does Swerve's title reign fall into place with the Elite and their storyline. Here's what I see potentially happening. Okada and the Elite, the Bucks, will have their hands tied with Kenny Omega, who is making his return. They announced it at the end. They announced it after Dynamite went off the air that Kenny Omega will be in Winnipeg this Wednesday on Dynamite, instead of just not even announcing it and just having him appear and surprise the audience. Do it that way. But no, you need to make this announcement so you can get ratings, because potentially you knew your ratings was going to be down the drain. You haven't peaked 800,000 since Mercedes Moné appeared on Dynamite. And let's not even talk about how it is slowly becoming apparent that the Edges of the world and the Mercedes Monés of the world seem to be a product of the WWE. And I know a lot of y'all are going to say that's just me caping because this and the third. But let's be honest. Has Edge's career in AEW been like, has Edge been able to continue the legacy that he had in WWE? Is he carrying that on in AEW? No. Mercedes Moné, it is a wait and see with her right now. Her first match is at Double or Nothing in May. But she says it's not clicking. Mercedes Moné is not clicking. The CEO is not clicking. And you can you can go back. I always said, out of the 4 horsewomen, she was my one. She was the one. I've always said she was the one. And then I just went through the list. Becky was always at the bottom, but it was her, Bayley, Charlotte, and then, on my personal list, Now, you have, going back to this whole situation. So the Bucks and Okada will be busy with Omega and FTR, because that may be where they're going. Because it was supposed to be the Elite versus CM Punk and FTR, but we all know what happened. So where does that leave Jack Perry? I know people don't want to hear it, but Jack Perry could be the one to take the title from Strickland. Or you get a heel Hangman coming back, and he takes the title, he aligns himself with the Elite, takes the title. Now, Tony Khan. The attack on Tony Khan, that everybody has said it's similar, it's giving NWO vibes, even though no one is really considered an outsider. These are not people coming into the establishment. These are just already known people, even though it's very weird that they announced that. Like I said, I'm rambling right now, but they announced that Kenny Omega was coming back, even though, if I can recall correctly, the Bucks fired Kenny Omega, but that's not here nor there. So it just doesn't make any sense why he would even come back, which is why I think that they shouldn't have never announced him coming back. They should have said that, he should have came back, and Tony Schiavone and them should have been like, I thought he was fired, what's going on, then Tony Khan could have said, I reinstated or I rehired Kenny Omega after the attack that you did on me. Another thing that they can do is there's a certain devil. There's a certain scumbag. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He can potentially be coming back. And you don't want him to come back to go after Strickland because Strickland is a face now. So you need that heel. And if you need someone to go against the establishment, which is the elite, get MJF to come back, get that title, buddy himself up with Tony Khan, since Tony Khan now is about to be a prominent figure on screen, even though he said he didn't want to, but it's very clear that he wants to. And now Tony turns on MJF and he aligns himself with the elite. And then it's his whole power thing with the elite. So that's my position on that. Now let's talk about Tony Khan and how he has garnered the attention of the fans from Wednesday with that act. I said it on the Instagram. This is how you could have really done big things with this moment. And he did. He was on the NFL Draft, the second biggest night in football next to the Super Bowl. Kickoff, the Super Bowl, and the draft are the top three big moments of the NFL. And Tony Khan took this opportunity to go kayfabe and wear a neck brace. The only problem with the neck brace angle is Tony Khan was moving his head as such with this neck brace on, so much so that Pat McAfee's colleagues, his friends that are on the Pat McAfee show, literally said someone needs to tell Tony Khan stop moving around with the neck brace on because you're not selling this angle that you got hurt. So then what does Tony Khan do? Tony Khan is on the NFL Network talking to, I believe, I forgot, he was talking to people on the NFL Network. And in the moment of just putting over your company, you decide to do this.
There has not been a challenger brand that has gained as much market share as AEW in many, many, many years. We are like the Pepsi of pro wrestling, and we're up against a really evil juggernaut. WWE is our competitor. That's who we're facing. AEW, like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. WWE's like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. And I'm really proud of what we do down here.
The Harvey Weinstein, he said that. Those comments sent shockwaves across the wrestling community. And I, for one, have been very outspoken about this. I laughed because I said, this is funny. He was stooped to this level. I also then laughed, or I didn't laugh, but I found it to be disgusting because you are not thinking of the victims on both sides. You're not thinking of that. And people have said, if you look closely, the lawsuit is against Vince McMahon and the WWE. I'm not going to go back in time with this, but I will say that Tony Khan is going to be his own demise. If AEW goes down, it is because of that man. He speaks about tribalism and how we should all be fans of just wrestling. And I am. Despite the fact that I attack AEW and I am always waving the flag of the WWE, I grew up on the WWE. That's, as I said, is my first love. I cannot, and I will admit when WWE is in the wrong. I will admit at the times when I wasn't watching WWE, it was because I fell out of love with it because it just became, it wasn't entertaining, it wasn't fun, it wasn't entertaining, it was nothing to me anymore. I sat there and was like, I can't. And then I came back because of the summer of CM Punk, Brock Lesnar returning, The Shield, NXT, all these little small moments brought me back to this, and I haven't looked back since. But when I'm looking at AEW and I watch it, there is certain storylines that I like that I'm like, okay, I can get with it, but then something happens and then it's like I fall. Like, example, the whole Undisputed Kingdom. Now I get it because Adam Cole suffered an injury. He had to kind of, he's limited to what he's supposed to do. But you know what the WWE would have did if they were going with this angle still, knowing that Adam Cole was hurt? They would have did more vignettes with Adam Cole featured in there. You would have still had the Undisputed Kingdom as a pinnacle topic of AEW. If the Undisputed Kingdom was in NXT or WWE to be exact, they will still use them as this focal point. They didn't do that with them. And now Adam Cole is slightly emerged back. But it's like, what the hell are we doing? Every time AEW seems to take these steps forward, something happens and it brings us back. Prime example, the month of March, AEW was putting on probably some of their best work in March. And then WrestleMania weekend happens. And CM Punk goes on to Ariel Helwani's show and says what he says. And Triple H makes a comment about, even though he didn't name drop anybody, but he just made a comment about people not wanting to work the workload. And subtle other jabs that people want to say the WWE took. And what does Tony Khan and them decide to do? we're going to reveal the footage from All In. And that footage did not do nothing for them. It didn't. Now many people want to say it helped tell the story, even though when it was released, everybody and their mother was attacking this and said this was dumb, this was the death of AEW, all this other stuff. Then when they see what Jack Perry has done and what the Elite and Jack Perry are doing with this storyline, now they're saying, well, it made sense why they told this, why they showed the video, because it adds to the story. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That was taking 2 steps forward and 14 steps back. You had eyes locked in on you. They are showing what happened to you on the NFL Network. And you turn around and you make that dumbass statement. Two steps forward, 14 steps back. I will say this like I've always said. I want to see AEW succeed, despite the fact that I always rag on them. I want to see them succeed. Because you know what AEW does? AEW makes WWE go up. They don't look at them as they're not competition to them, but they watch them. They pay close attention. They see what they're doing. Triple H is not dumb. Triple H took NXT and built it and revolved it around similar to Ring of Honor. He's a student of the game. Ariel Helwani said it best. AEW is the reason why, one of the reasons why WrestleMania was so successful. When there is a presence of somebody on you or someone looking at you, you want to step your game up. That's what WWE did. You want to call them the big bad wolves? You want to call them the bad guys? Well, guess what? They're about to turn it up even more because of what you said. Pay close attention to what's going to happen, especially in the next few years, especially with the Netflix deal. That's going to change the trajectory and change everything that we think of the WWE as we know it now. I said it before. I'll say it again. I want to see AEW succeed, but if I'm going to be honest, with the rate they're going, AEW won't last past the end of this year or next year, where they're in the same breath as Impact Wrestling. So that's it for this installment of Wrestle Talk with yours truly, the franchise. Make sure that if you are new to this channel, you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you are been a faithful watcher, I thank you. Make sure you leave your comments in the video and below. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at RCW_podcast. Make sure you follow the Ace as well at RCW_Ace. I am the franchise, better known as Podcast Tribal Chief. Enjoy this week of wrestling. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy Dynamite. Enjoy SmackDown. Enjoy Backlash. I will be back next week with my recap from Backlash. So until then, man, I'm out. Later.